Well, good morning, everybody. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. The title of this video today is going to be about how to remain calm when there is a time to speak and when there is not a time to speak, according to the book of Ecclesiastes. I believe there's a part that it mentions in there that there's a time to weep, there's a time to be joyful, so on and so forth. I'm not going to get really too much into the book of Ecclesiastes right now, but I'm going to give you a bit of my understanding on how things are working out for me right now. One of the things that I've prayed for is I've asked the Lord, I've said, Lord, help me to become more dependent upon you. Increase my faith. Now, over the course of time, this can look like for something different from various people. One of the first things that I've noticed is that things get really tough. Not just with church, but I become more aware of certain people and certain things that go on in my life that actually start to enhance my abilities to become wiser about how to approach that situation. Of course, I mean as in wiser, as in I become wiser, is that God gives me a very good discerning spirit. So pardon me, I did not mean to overstep and say that I can do this without God. Clearly I cannot, but He has given me the proper discernment to use this discernment to address these issues in a very calm manner, so as not to become very bitter. Although at times I can find myself fighting that bitterness. So I'll give you an example. One of the things that stood out to me was I don't have a lot of friends. I often get asked like, why that is, and I explain to people I don't think it was meant for me to have friends. The simplicity of it is, in my view, no, I don't know what God's view looks like, but in my view, I was cut from a different cloth. I don't take things as jokingly as others when it comes to God. I clearly do not see God as somebody who is just a joke, as somebody that you can laugh about. I mean, people make jokes, that have God in there and so on and so forth. I don't really find them very funny. Not only that, but I also remember casting pearls before swine. See, a lot of the people that I hang around with, they're not orthodox. They don't believe in orthodoxy, or they're all Protestant. And it's hard because I love them, but I can't share with them what God gave to me. I'm done sharing. I have shared enough to love somebody enough to try and point them in the right direction, understanding that even Jesus himself in John 6, John chapter 6, 51, and all the way down to 70, you can read about how many of his disciples said, how can Jesus ask us to eat of his flesh and drink of his blood? They thought he was being a cannibal. He's the bread from heaven, just like manna was from heaven in the book of Exodus. There's a correlation there. But people often want to get hung up on the little things, and they want a reason to remain Protestant, and we have to let them. Now, casting pearls before swine can mean a very different many of things, and whether we're right or not does not matter. What we believe to be right should be kept within ourselves. It should not be given to these people. And it's not for the simplicity of that you are being, you are hoarding or you are being selfish. It is the idea that they believe that they know better than you, that they know better than the apostles, they know better than church history, and they know better than Jesus Christ himself. And arguing with them on the internet is pointless. Calling them heretics is pointless. Anything that causes further divisiveness can actually bring more harm and damage, and I myself am very guilty of many of doing these things even current to today. So I have no excuse when I stand before Christ, when I have to give an account as to why I said the things that I said online or the way that I behaved towards somebody. Now, currently, I am going through a trial. I think, maybe, I don't know. So I can't speak on this very much, but I believe that I am, because I have an understanding that right now, where I am, there are people around me that have chosen to say one thing, their actions say another, and what they've done is they have continuously lied to me over and over and over again. And I understand, because I am not in their position. And we all lie. Saying that we don't lie would be we'd be lying to ourselves. We'd be lying right now. Sometimes we fabricate stories and make things appear more radiant or joyful than they really are, and we can just be simple and just not tell a story at all. If we believe that story could get worked up as to, something beautiful. And yes, it may sound good and look good, and you can paint it up, but it's still a lie. It's still an exaggerated lie, no matter how small it is. I had a conversation with my wife last night. I myself caught myself saying some things that were not true. And, I had to go back and correct it the way that I'm supposed to, but, I'm human just like you. And so I have my problems. But I've gotten a lot better. I have now come to a fork in the road where I have run out of words to say to these people. They don't know God. And while I look like I'm angry and I'm bitter toward them, I am in a way that I have poured out much in hope that they would change and that they would see Christ for who he really is and see me who I really am. And there comes a time when a man has to say, I've had enough. I'm setting boundaries, and they're not going to like it, and they're going to say, well, that's not representation of Christ, blah, blah, blah. You're right. You're probably right. They're probably right. That is not a good representation of Christ. But when you don't set boundaries, you rob yourself of inner peace. When you don't set boundaries, you allow people to continue to walk all over you. And now, I'm not saying that you have to go out of your way and you have to correct them. You just have to slowly detract away from them. You have to slowly let go of them and let them go their own way. Do not rob yourself of God's grace by actively trying to continue to work with them and continue to work in their lives and give them bits of information about Christ. Only if they engage with you should you talk to them, if you choose. But if you have nothing beautiful to say, no encouragement, no enlightenment, do not give them anything. Say nothing. Be silent, be respectful, but do not talk to them, because they win, or the devil wins. Because if he is actively having a spirit work through them, then you are interfering with God's grace and divine wisdom and love that he has for that person. And you could mess that up by even just saying, I don't care, or saying anything at all. The best form of wisdom that I've ever had, and that I'm realizing now that God has given to me, is to be silent. Because I have run out of patience for these people. I have run out of loving them in a way that I believe that God loves them, and maybe it's my imposing will that wants to see them better, but they want to choose the life that they want to, and so I leave them at the mercy of Christ. I don't leave them at my mercy. My mercy has limits. I'm a person. I can't lie to myself. I have lied to myself by saying I'm going to give them chances after chances after chances, but when they have burned so many of those chances, I have to come to the realization that I have to cut them off. I have to give them their space. I have to give them love from a distance. I have to pray for them, and I have to hope that maybe someday that they will understand why it is I don't want to interact with them anymore. And it's not out of hate or out of spite. I believe that. I could be wrong. Maybe God knows better. Maybe I do. But at least from my understanding, I have simply cut them off because I do not want to say something bad to them. I do not want to give them anything that could rob them of them having a wonderful day. It can go both ways. Me saying something, even if it's encouraging, could sound remarkable, but I would be lying to myself and lying to them if I believe that's what I truly meant. I can believe it if I want to. It doesn't make it true. So if my thoughts are already bad toward them, and I say something loving toward them, it doesn't make it true. It makes it a lie. And so I have come to the realization it's better not to speak at all until I am correct in my way of thinking. And then in my heart, it can align with those thoughts. And then it can come out as encouraging and beautiful and wonderful. And it comes from the Lord. And I think part of that too is, in my understanding, is a reshaping of the way that I present myself and the way that I handle myself. I have never once, nor will ever claim to be a pious man. I will never claim to be better than anybody. I struggle just like the next guy. I have my own problems. I have many problems. But the one thing I will not tell you is, I'm better than you. I had done that, I believe, for so long, that I don't even recognize who I am anymore. That is the understanding of how much I have hurt people, is that I don't know who I am. And I'm currently trying to find who I am in Christ by asking for his help, because I am going to the Orthodox Church. And as of right now, I have changed the way that I do things at the church for the simplicity of there is peace there. And that is the only place that I can get peace anymore. Now, I get it at my home too. It's a little bit chaos, even with the kids. But it's not near as bad as going out there into the world and then trying to deal with the insurance stuff, or to deal with car payments or credit cards or whatever else, all these sorts of different bills and all sorts of different things, and trying to stay on top of that, trying to get my life in the best shape possible. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But what can happen is that I remain calm through it all. And even if I get to the point where I can't afford things anymore, I will still love Christ, because I have come to love Christ the most when I struggle. And struggling has brought me so close to God many a time that I cannot begin to tell you how wonderful it has been. You don't know how loving you can be when your back is up against a wall and you have nothing left. You have run out of money. I'm not saying I've run out of money, but I'm just saying, there were times that I did, that I had nothing, that I gave my last few dollars, and I received many blessings from the Lord that I never thought possible. And it got me through to my next paycheck. Every little thing that I can think of right now that was just like that, where days were hard and I depended upon God, needing to put just a little gas in my car, or just needing a few extra dollars, and being so devout to God, even as a Protestant. I believed he still worked through me, but now that I have become a catechumen in the Orthodox Church, it has gotten really difficult. I have nobody to talk to. I can talk to my wife about it. She doesn't understand. She listens, and she's a good wife. I have nothing against my wife. But the thing that you have to come to understand as an Orthodox Christian, or somebody who is entering the church, is if you are not married, and even in the community, you are still going to be by yourself. People in the parish are not going to save you. And I know people would say things like, oh, Orthodox Christians shouldn't be like that. Look, I don't have any ill will toward them. I am glad that they're there. But they are just as sick as I am, if not probably worse, and they're trying to get their healing too. And they have their little clique groups, and that's okay. I've realized that that's just human biasness that has been around for ages. I'm not asking to make a friend. It would be nice to talk to somebody other than my priest, because my priest's plate is full. He has so much going on, and he has to look over so many new people. But here's what I can tell you. The difficult thing about becoming an Orthodox Christian, and I can't lie to you about it. I'm not going to tell you that there's not any cons. The attack is relentless. Spiritually, the enemy wants to deprive you of any hope, of any joy, of any true happiness, of a family, children, of connecting with anybody. And part of it too may be my problem, that I'm not actively engaging with people, but I really don't know how either, because I have inept social skills that I had at one time. I didn't have them at one time. What I mean to say, I had good social skills and good social etiquette. I do not. I have very poor social skills, and my social etiquette is very flimsy at times, and has gotten to the point where it has done me more damage than it has done good. Simply because I have fallen into my own traps, and that's my own fault. So, on the basis of wanting new friends, I don't go to the Orthodox Church to make friends. I really don't. Would I like to have friends? Absolutely. But it just is not for me. I remember when I used to, even as a Protestant, I tried to hang out with people. And this may be a little bit longer than I thought as far as this video goes. I don't believe I ever fit in to this world. I'm not gonna lie about it. I don't believe I belong here. I don't think any of us do. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm gonna do something stupid. What it means for me, and that I understand, is that I am on a journey where I have been isolated for two reasons. One, for spiritual growth, divineness and wisdom that come from Christ, that only He can impart to me should He choose. That would be splendid. John the Baptist was in the wilderness for 3 years before he started preaching about Jesus and repenting of sins and so on and so forth. But I'm not saying that I'm going to be anything like that. I don't know. But I think there's a reason why right now I have been isolated, and I don't know what that reason is. I honestly don't. And I still go to church, obviously. I still go to the liturgy and things like that. I still participate in what sacraments I can right now as a catechumen, which are very minimal, like the life itself being there in the church. I can't do confession. I can't do the Eucharist yet. There's really not much I can't do in the church, but, I can hold the door open for people. I can offer myself to the bookstore, things like that. But and help with social hour and minimal things like that, and cleaning up. But those are about all the things I can offer as far as participation. And I do realize that our Matushka does recognize me, and she says some things to me sometimes. Not very often, but she is a very wonderful woman. I've never had any issues with her. So I have a lot to say about her that is just most wonderful. And that our priest, Father Basil, has a wonderful wife and children as well. So that I can say I am grateful for. And I can also say that I'm grateful that God keeps him there to give the liturgy, and that should Christ appear um, instead of him, that would be also wonderful. Like, what I mean is maybe a transfiguration. Uh, and even if it doesn't, I'm still going to attend. There's a lot of wonderful things that come from the church, being in the life of the church, of the Orthodox Church. But I think the one thing that can draw us closer to God is if we just stop lying. We stop pretending. When there are days that we don't want to pray, I would suggest say a simple prayer, even if it's just the Jesus prayer. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. I would talk to your priest about it. But I wouldn't pray from a place where you just don't feel like it. I would say a short and simple prayer and ask God to help you with your prayers, because I don't think many of us want to pray. And Father Basil was right when he says that you should pray for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, evening and morning prayers. But when you do that, sometimes too, if you're forcing yourself, what is the point? Don't force yourself to pray. God's not going to accept somebody who's lying to him. I wouldn't think so. If I got up in the morning and said, well, I'm going to say my morning prayers because I have to, do you think God's going to accept that prayer? Do you think that he is going to accept your attitude of coming to him and saying, I have to do this, so I'm going to do it, but I don't want to do it because I want to do whatever I want to do in the morning? I don't believe that. I believe that if you personally lie to Christ and yourself like that, you are diminishing your prayer. How do I think later on in the day that God could possibly change your heart? Yes, I do. And then I think that could be the time to pray. Now, I'm no spiritual advisor, I'm not a priest, but I don't like lying to Christ and going before him, although many of my prayers probably have been that way. I'm trying to ask God for help in identifying if I am praying incorrectly. I don't want to go to God forced to pray every day. Sometimes I come home and I'm so tired, I just say the Jesus prayer, and that's it. That's all I can do. And sometimes I say a short prayer and I go to bed, because I tell him I'm tired, I don't want to do this, and I don't want to force it. I do not want to force a prayer that God is not going to accept, because then I just wasted his time and I wasted my time, and nobody wins, not even me, because spiritually it deprives me of joy. I always want to pray even when there's no joy, but I want to, at least in hard times when I pray, I want God to accept that prayer as reverently as possible, for him to know that I lack faith, that I lack humility, I lack humbleness, I lack chastity, I lack all these different things. And that is exactly why forcing a prayer is not going to be good. But asking little things like this and praying them and saying, God, increase my faith, help me to pray even when I don't feel like it, help me to change my ways, help me to change my mind. Because taking baby steps and then going into that, prayer is a challenge, and maybe your priest will tell you to pray anyway, because in a sense, it can help with discipline. Absolutely. I'm no advisor. Take advice from your priest, but this, I'm explaining to you what happens to me. And this is the reason why I have to be very careful when I approach God before prayer. Because if I pray for somebody and I just outright don't care for them at all, do you think God's going to listen to my prayer? No, he'll probably help them anyway. He'll hear that much. He'll hear the prayer. But when it's offered up, he'll, how do I know that God will not just say, well, yeah, let's go ahead and help this fella out. As far as his prayer goes, let's just put it away for right now and just kind of leave it to where it is. And once his heart gets corrected and his mind is right, and then he prays, we can add that prayer to the next prayer, and then we can just make it bigger and make it more profitable for all of us, including him, and so that he can see the, I don't know. I don't know if this is a heresy or not. I don't want to be a heretic. I just know that when I approach God and I pray, even coming from a place that is not good, it just doesn't give me any motivation to pray to him and lie to him about it. So, if you want to pray, even when you don't feel like praying, go ahead. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But speaking from my own experience, and this is not an everyday thing. This just happens sometimes. There are many times that I wake up, most days, and most evenings when I come in, when I am just fine, and I say my evening prayers and I say my morning prayers with the most joyous of joys. And then there are other times I don't. Am I consistent in prayer? Absolutely, even if it's just a little bit. But if I'm actively fighting against myself to pray, sure, I can pray, God help me to change my mind about this. God help me to survive this. Help me to pray. I think maybe if you pray to ask for help to pray, I think that can be beneficial. But there are times that I have felt so bad for standing at prayer, and I get so tired that I plop down into my chair and I tell God, I just need a minute. And I end up falling asleep and waking up after 5 minutes and then starting my prayers again. I know God sees that I'm tired, but it just, I think in my eyes, what I see for myself is I'm lazy, for one. So I'm not going to lie about that, because I think at times I'm just lazy. And other times I really am tired. But I'm still lazy because I don't want to do it. But I at least say some sort of prayer before I go to sleep, even if it's not the evening prayers. And the other thing is I don't think I'm in a position to be asking God much for anything, because I don't know where I am spiritually right now. I'm in a place where I am going through a very tremendous trial, I think. And whether by my own hand or by, like Job, that having been allowed to have these things happen to him, I don't know. Is this spiritually going to help me? Yes, every battle that I ever face, whether it's because of my stupidity or whether it's allowed to happen to me, and that God allows it to happen to me for growth, I should not discard. I should count it as a blessing, and I do. I would love to be able to make friends. I would love to be able to talk to people. But it's so hard, because sometimes, for me personally, even as a catechumen, I hear some of the things they say, And I get it. We're all struggling. We're all human. But the gossip, the complaining, I'm not saying I'm any different. Let's get that out of the way first. I'm not saying that I am the best at this. I am not saying that I am exempt. I am included in all of this. But we are fat. We are lazy. We become despondent. We don't want to pray. We hate our brothers. We hate people. We don't want to talk to anybody. We don't want to socialize. We just want to go to church, and we just want to be like everybody else, and we want to fit in with the world, and we want to do all these wonderful things. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that is not something that you probably do. And I'm not saying that you're a perfect Orthodox Christian or a perfect Protestant Christian, Catholic Christian, whatever you want to call yourself. I'm not saying that we're perfect. But I'm saying, how can we change the world when this is the way that we live? And in my own life, I can attest to this. I want to be more like Christ. And even with all the instructions, I still don't know how. I try to act it out as much as I can. I come up with things in my head, ideas. Does it mean it's going to work? Does it mean it's actively going to work? I don't know. But what I do know is if I approach God with a humble heart and ask Him for help on these things, I think He can work with that. I believe He can work with that. And even if I don't, I can ask Him to help me believe that. To show me how to be faithful to Him. Because I know when I am not faithful. But He is always faithful to me. That's the hardest part of being an Orthodox Christian, is you can find yourself in a rut. And there will be nobody to save you. I really admire people who want to move up into positions where they make more money, wherever it may be, like IT or mechanics or plumbing, all of that stuff. But me, I see the evil in it. And there is some good that can come from it with a good foundation. But when it's already built upon an evil foundation, what I mean by that is whoever runs that place, wherever it is, whatever job it is, because it's anywhere you go, when it's run by somebody who is not a Christian, sure, that place can change because it starts with you when you change. The problem, though, is that you may not see it in your lifetime, and that's okay. That's quite all right. Planting seeds is fine, because that's what we're supposed to do, but it is by the way that we hold ourselves. So while this stuff could be said, why don't you go to your priest, and why don't you talk to him about all these things? Look, my priest has his own battles. If I always go to him for spiritual advice on some of these harder topics, how am I ever going to learn? How am I ever going to get experience? Now, if there are certain things that begin to happen, like certain dreams, certain visions that start coming to me, absolutely I would go to him. But if it's not something that I can pray about and ask the Lord for help from, and that, I'm always going to him for every little thing, I mean, I'm not spiritually growing. Because while he is my priest, and while I should go to him for many things, I should also not limit, or maybe not limit's the right word, I should not hinder him from helping somebody else who has more pressing matters. Because there are plenty of people who are in worse situations than I am at the church, and I don't even know about them. I don't ask, but I think that they need Father Basil more than I do. I am in a place where I am not at that point yet where I need Father Basil so much that I am willing to just go to town and just ask him for help for every little thing, even as a catechumen. And people say you're supposed to go to your priest for all these different things, and it's like, yes, I get that. But I also need to struggle too. I need to know what it's like to struggle. Because Jesus struggled. Peter struggled. The apostles struggled. I must struggle. I can read the early church fathers on what they did. I can pray. I can offer up incense. I can burn candles while I pray. But if I don't do any of these things, if I do not come at Christ with humility and a good heart, how can my prayers ever become answered? Father Basil is not going to be here with me 24/7. He may pray for me and pray for his whole congregation, his whole church, but he cannot be here and see what is going on. This is why I have to battle out, and I have to write down and record the things that are the most pressing. Like the other day, I caught myself saying, Father Basil, I was going to message him and say, how can I get my incense burner to not smoke as much? Well, it took me a while, but I did some trials and errors, and I figured it out. I'd have felt really dumb for asking him that. He wouldn't have thought it was dumb, but that is an issue that I don't need to take up with him. That is an issue that I have to learn from, and it's the same thing with what is going on in my life right now, as far as like not having any friends, as far as how to pray. It is learning by experience, by doing it, by living it, by trying and seeing what works, writing it down, going back and revising it as necessary. These things are not bad as part of your Christian walk and part of your Christian faith. What is bad is when you're always asking the priest to help you. If the priest suddenly drops over dead because his heart gives out, or because God has allowed his work to be done through him and that another priest will come, how do you know that that priest is going to take care of you the way that your spiritual father did? You don't. You are at the mercy of Christ and that next priest, because that priest is a human just like you, and he may not have time for all your qualms. He may not have time for all your squabbles. He may not have time for all your problems or anything. He may have lots of work to do to catch up on what the last priest did and what he was doing and figure out what is going on. And he's getting thrown right into the middle of it, so he needs some time to adjust. Yes, you can set up appointments with him and everything, but you must endure. Your own salvation shouldn't be just dependent upon the priest. Yes, you should go because he gives the liturgy, he gives the Eucharist and things like that. But you should also understand that you should work out your salvation too. Without Father Basil, without Father Peter Hears, or without Father Josiah Trenham, these guys, they don't get you into heaven. They help you to that path. But the only way to get to heaven is through Jesus Christ, working out your salvation, as Paul stated, with trembling and fear. This is the important message that we need to understand, and why it is important to look at these trials and tribulations in our own lives and not to try and be at the mercy of the priest. The priest has all the knowledge in the world. Maybe not all the knowledge in the world, but I mean, what I mean to say is he has a lot of knowledge because he's specially trained in seminary, and he has his own life experiences, is what I mean, that can help you. But that's not going to help you pray. That's not going to help you understand the struggle of prayer. That's not going to help you understand the struggles of the world. You have to live it. What works for him and may work for somebody else may not work for you. Everybody is different. Everybody is unique. If we were all the same, we could all reach a level of theosis, just like St. Paisios, just like St. Nectarios, and Seraphim Rose, and many more of our older saints and martyrs. We could reach a life of asceticism the way that they did, even within our own homes. But we're not all the same. Not all of us are called to be priests. Not all of us will become saints. Not all of us will reach a state of theosis, but it doesn't mean that you can't try. It doesn't mean that you can't experience worldly problems so that you can grow spiritually. I hope this helped somebody today. I really do. I want to encourage you that if you feel alone, you can always leave a comment. You can always email me at jnichols, the letter J, and then NICHOLS at 4126@gmail.com. I would explain about the name J. Hamza, but I don't need to. That is an old name. That's all I can tell you, because that is not who I am. And that is not the person that I will be moving forward. I have chosen to distance myself from such matters that are tied to that name, because that name has brought a lot of pain into my life, and still does at times. That's another story for another day. I will not explain how my name came about, but I will tell you this: there is a lot of bad history attached to that name. But I do hope that you are encouraged by this to know that you aren't alone. I will pray for you in my prayers, because I don't know who you are, but I'm sure there are other people out there like me or worse off. So I don't find myself alone. I do find myself alone as far as like right where I'm at right now in the world. But I don't believe that I am alone as far as other people not feeling like this, or other people not experience the same sort of spiritual growth in their own life. Everybody's trials is going to look differently. Everybody's tests, tribulations, whatever you want to call it. We're all going to be facing something different. But know this: push through. Even if you say a short prayer in the morning, and I am no spiritual advisor, but I'm just saying, even if you do this, read the Bible, read the spiritual fathers. You can pick up, or even find online, you can read homilies. There are many good podcasts, like Orthodox Ethos with Father Peter Hears. I think he is one of the ones on that channel. There's Ancient Faith. You have Father Stephen DeYoung. You have Father Josiah Trenum. You have Father Trubenbach. There are lots of, even Father Despodov, I think is his name, George Despodov. I think he's a Greek priest. He has a pretty thick accent. But there are many priests online, many Orthodox priests. And just listen to their homilies, just listen to their wisdom. And one of the most interesting ones that I've learned about is Father Moses of Rocor in Texas. Power lifter. You can find him. I forget his first name, but it's Father, I think Father something Moses, or it's Father Moses and then his last name. But either way, he's got some interesting homilies, and they're not bad, but he is one of the many priests that I listen to as well. And one of my favorite, all-time favorite that I do love listening to as well, that you should listen to, is Father Spiridon Bailey. He is an exceptional priest. He has a lot of books, and he has a lot of spiritual wisdom. So I would suggest checking out a lot of content online for orthodoxy. For catechumens, it's so insightful. These men are well beyond my time. These men are wonderful, and they have so much wisdom. I can see God pour out into them, Christ pour out into them, the Holy Spirit poured out to them. And I admire that. I don't have any envy toward it. Sure, at times I wish that I had that, but I don't. I don't have that, because I'm not baptized and chrismated into the church. So I'm just an outsider still until my day comes. And as long as Christ allows me to live, I will fight and wait. I will wait my turn and be patient. I don't want to speed up the process. I want to do this the way that Christ had intended for all of us to do this, to unlearn Protestantism and to relearn orthodoxy, the one true apostolic church to this day. May God bless you. May this message encourage you. I will keep you in my prayers, and just know that you are not alone. You don't have to do it alone. You can email me with your concerns. I will pray for you. You can give me your name, what you're going through. Again, my name is, you can just refer to me as Jeff, or you can refer to me as my YouTube channel name, which is J Hamza. But when you email me, you just send it to the letter J in my last name, Nichols, Nichols, 4126 @gmail.com. Whether you're Protestant, whether you're an Inquirer, whether you're Lutheran, Anglican, whatever you may be, please do not hesitate to email me, and I will do my best to get back to you as I can. But one thing I will not do is, if you are going to try and talk down to me, belittle me, I will block your email. I will not allow you to filter out people who need my prayers. I won't, maybe I won't block your email, but I will definitely keep you on my prayer list, and then probably block your email. And you can make plenty more if you want to, and then keep trying to do it over and over and over again, and spam and message me as much as you want to, and eventually it'll just come to the point where I will ignore them. I will mark it as spam, whatever comes up, and I will not read it, and I will not message you, because this is not about how right or wrong I am. This is about how I can at least be there for you, and at least you have somebody to talk to if you're alone and you want to reach out. Because I can't teach you, and I won't teach you, but I can give you my examples in hopes that maybe you can reform it to where it works for you. But I would always say, go to your priest. Go to your priest and talk to him. But it is not bad to try and connect with other people outside of this. We all need people. And so I don't normally give out my email to people. I just don't. But I am doing this in good faith, and in the hopes that if there are people out there who are feeling lonely, because I have one that attends the liturgy, and he is going through the same thing that I am going through, and we're best buds. Even though he doesn't say it, I think he appreciates me very much because I have done a lot for him, and I'm glad I've done a lot for him because I see that he is just like me. And so if you guys would pray for him too, his name is Donald. He's a very wonderful guy. So take this message with you, and you are welcome to email me. And again, last time, that would be at J, the letter J, and then my last name, NICHOLS, 4126 at gmail.com. And even give me some scriptures if you want to help encourage me. Pray for me. You can just call me Jay. Just address me as Jay. That's basically what people call me today anyway, Jay. So I would much appreciate it that you pray for me and you give me encouraging words. I will do the same for you, excuse me. And reach out to me if you need to. And who knows what we can do together. Who knows where this will go. We could bring other people in, and we can start our own group chat. We could start our own friend thing, and we don't know where this can lead, but it's things like this that where God can begin to bring us together and work through us, and other people will then be able to see it. We don't know. But that is why I'm doing this. I'm not trying to make money off of this. I'm giving my spare time where I could be doing other productive things to be able to give you what I am going through in hopes that maybe this will help encourage you to understand that you're not the only one struggling, and that you don't have to be, and that I can get on here and tell you my struggles instead of keeping it to myself, because not only is this just documenting my life, this is also documenting the struggles of what it means to be a catechumen or an inquirer or even an Orthodox Christian. We will all struggle together, and just know that. So may God help us, have mercy on us, save us, and keep us by His grace. May He grant us and impart on us wisdom and love and humility in all things. Glory to God for all things. Christ be with you. Glory to God.